Some new cars are rotting on dealer lots for over 500 days, and that's not an accident. In this video, I expose the 26 worst-selling vehicles in America, including one so disastrous the factory shut down. If you're thinking about buying a car, this could save you thousands of dollars. Let's break it down in today's video. Note, this video is an independent analysis based on public sources. It does not represent any organization or political stance. We encourage you to think critically and share your thoughts in the comments. BMW X6. The BMW X6 starts the list with a 140-day supply and an $89,417 price tag. In just 3 years, it loses over $44,000, half its value. Reliability is poor at 2 out of 5, with owners reporting costly air suspension failures and electronic issues. That sloping roof kills cargo space, making this luxury coupe SUV impractical and overpriced. BMW XM. The BMW XM is a masterclass in how not to launch a luxury SUV. With 544 days of supply, nearly 18 months, and prices starting around $159,000, it's BMW's slowest selling model in America. Polarizing design, meme-worthy styling, and supercar pricing for an SUV many buyers simply don't want has turned the XM into a showroom liability. BMW i7. BMW's electric flagship is struggling hard. The i7 has a crushing 578 days of supply, over 1,600 unsold units, and only 125 sold in 45 days. At nearly $130,000, its 318-mile range disappoints, reliability sits at a weak 2 out of 5, and software issues persist. With Tesla offering more range and Mercedes delivering more refinement, the i7 is stuck in the middle. Ford Escape. The Escape is limping toward discontinuation with 189 days of inventory and over 57,000 units sitting unsold. Once a 300,000-unit bestseller, Ford sold just 157,000 last year. Cheap interiors, weak base engines, and jerky transmissions pushed buyers away, especially when Ford's own Bronco Sport outsells it. Audi A7. The stunning A7 sits for 225 days, with just 154 sold last month at over $81,000. It loses 55% of its value in 3 years. Reliability disappoints, and critics point out a bigger issue: Audi's designs all look the same. New models are nearly indistinguishable from decade-old ones. Audi A8. Audi's flagship sedan sits for 270 days, with just 148 sold against 560 in stock. The problem isn't luxury, it's invisibility. The A8 blends into Audi's design sameness, offering little visual distinction in a segment where presence matters. Toyota 4Runner, 2025. The redesigned 2025 4Runner lands here with 240 days of supply and over 6,400 units in inventory. Only 1,210 sold last month at around $53,000. Unlike others, this appears to be a temporary supply surge, not weak demand. Toyota flooded the market after a full redesign. Land Rover Discovery. The Discovery sits for 174 days, with nearly 1,900 units unsold at over $60,000. Global sales have collapsed below 20,000 units. Owners complain about constant electrical problems, even at low mileage. As one owner put it, when rivals like the Lexus GX deliver bulletproof reliability, the Discovery's price makes no sense. Infiniti QX80. Infinity's redesigned QX80 proves that luxury badges don't guarantee sales. It has a 176-day supply and nearly 5,000 unsold units at over $70,000. The new twin-turbo V6 feels slower than the old V8, fuel economy is poor, and Infinity's reliability record leaves buyers skeptical. Alfa Romeo Giulia. The Giulia sits for 193 days, with just 212 sold last month. Prices range from $41,690 to nearly $87,000, yet it loses 58% of its value in 3 years. Reliability is awful at 1.5 out of 5, plagued by electrical failures. It drives beautifully, but ownership scares buyers off. Cadillac CT4. With 197 days of supply and nearly 2,700 unsold units, the CT4 struggles to find relevance. It loses half its value in 3 years, making leasing the only logical option. Reliability is mediocre, the base engine feels weak, and the interior can't match European rivals. Infiniti QX55. The QX55 shows what happens when you make an SUV less useful. With 219 days of supply and only 680 sold last month, it loses 48% of its value in 3 years. CVT issues and glitchy infotainment hurt reliability. At $60,000, buyers expect far more refinement. Cadillac Escalade IQ. The all-electric Escalade IQ has 226 days of supply and over 4,000 unsold units at $130,000, about $40,000 more than the gas version. It doesn't qualify for the EV tax credit, and long-term reliability isn't proven. Luxury buyers aren't rushing in. Range Rover Velar. The Velar sits for 227 days with nearly 2,500 unsold units at $72,530. It loses a staggering 61% of its value in 3 years. Reliability is dreadful, plagued by air suspension and electrical failures. The sleek touchscreen interior looks futuristic, but frustrates drivers and inflates repair bills. Porsche Taycan. Even Porsche isn't immune. The Taycan sits for 229 days with over 2,200 unsold units. At $143,000, it loses more than $54,000 in 3 years. Reliability concerns, charging issues, and underwhelming range compared to rivals are slowing demand. Dodge Charger. The Charger sits for 241 days with over 7,300 unsold units. It loses 45% of its value in 3 years, with V8 models dropping even faster. Fuel costs are high, reliability is average, and the interior feels outdated in a rapidly changing market. Mini Hardtop 2-door. The Mini struggles with 242 days of supply and nearly 4,000 unsold units. It loses 47% of its value in 3 years, terrible for a small premium car. Reliability issues, harsh ride quality, and excessive road noise turn off buyers. Chrysler Voyager. The Voyager proves cheap doesn't equal desirable. With 283 days of supply, it loses 52% of its value in 3 years. Reliability is mediocre, infotainment feels a decade old, and missing safety features make it a hard sell against better-equipped rivals. Luxury badges are supposed to signal success, but these cars tell a very different story. In 2025, some of the most expensive vehicles on the road are quietly becoming sales disasters. Jaguar F-Pace. The Jaguar F-Pace tops the list of luxury SUV failures with a staggering 291 days of supply. Just 424 units sold last month at an average price of $72,831. In 3 years, it loses 66% of its value, nearly $48,000. Reliability is miserable at 1.5 out of 5, plagued by electrical glitches, infotainment crashes, climate failures, air suspension issues, and diesel emissions problems. Add high interest rates, fuel costs, and Jaguar's uncertain future as it exits gas models without EV replacements, and buyers are walking away fast. BMW 5 Series. The BMW 5 Series proves prestige can't outrun bad timing. With 305 days of supply and over 3,600 cars sitting unsold at $65,687, demand has collapsed. Massive recalls involving steering and braking systems, 2 critical safety components, have shaken buyer confidence. Once BMW's perfect middle ground, the 5 Series now feels bland, outdated, and out of place in an SUV and EV-driven market. Alfa Romeo Tonale. Style alone isn't enough. The Tonale sits with 312 days of supply and nearly 2,850 unsold units starting around $43,000. Buyers remain skeptical of Alfa's reliability, long-term durability, and limited dealer network. Against proven rivals like the BMW X3 and Mercedes GLC, most shoppers aren't willing to gamble on Italian flair. Jaguar XF. The XF is a car with no future, and buyers know it. With 315 days of supply and barely any monthly sales at $58,500, this sedan is effectively dead. Jaguar's decision to abandon gas models has turned the XF into a depreciating orphan. Once a symbol of British luxury, it now feels like a forgotten relic. Audi Q6 e-tron Quattro. Audi's new electric crossover isn't landing. The The Q6 e-tron sits on 330 days of supply with over 3,700 units unsold around $65,000. Despite sleek styling and advanced tech, buyers hesitate due to range concerns, charging anxiety, and EV fatigue. At this price, expectations are higher, and Audi isn't quite delivering. Jeep Grand Wagoneer. The Grand Wagoneer is drowning in inventory. 428 days worth and more than 2,200 unsold units. Only 233 sold in 45 days, despite six-figure pricing. Sales fell sharply in early 2025, and it's now being outsold by Jeep's own electric models. Competing with the Cadillac Escalade without matching its prestige or refinement has proven costly. Dodge Hornet. This one is brutal. The Hornet has 428 days of supply and nearly 15,000 units sitting unsold. Sales have collapsed, dealers are discounting brand new models below $25,000, and many of these cars are still unsold 2023 models, now in 2025. Reliability complaints, recalls, and obvious badge engineering killed trust fast. Fiat 500e. The biggest failure of them all, the Fiat 500e. With a 580-day supply and over 1,100 unsold units, this is a full-blown collapse. Despite being one of the cheapest EVs in America, only 970 sold in all of 2024. Stellantis even shut down production for weeks. At $34,000, buyers get limited range, a cheap interior, and questionable reliability. On American roads dominated by SUVs, this tiny EV feels outmatched and overpriced. What's actually selling? At the opposite end of the spectrum, cars like the Lexus NX Hybrid, Cadillac Escalade, Lexus RX Hybrid, Toyota RAV4, and GMC Yukon are flying off lots with under 35 days of supply. They share strong brand trust, practical design, and either proven hybrid efficiency or real luxury appeal. The takeaway. In 2025, price and badges alone don't sell cars. Trust, reliability, and long-term value do. These failures might score you massive discounts, but now you know exactly why they're cheap. This was just the beginning. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up. Digital Garage has so much more in store.